Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bible reading plan. We are in the 8th chapter of the book of Revelation today, and we see something in the beginning of Revelation. It's the 7th seal, and after Jesus opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour, and that's just crazy thinking of how loud and how worshipful heaven was. And this is like the silence before the storm, the graveness of knowing what comes out of the 7th seal. And what comes out of the 7th seal is the beginning of this next wave of judgments called the 7 trumpets. And some scholars believe that these are, saying the same thing. Some believe they're progressing on to judgment. But I think that by the time this judgment is here, those who are in Christ, those who abide in Christ and who He is faithful to will be taken up, will be taken out before this judgment is instilled upon the earth. But let's talk about it a little bit. But it shows in Verse 1, it says, "When the Lamb opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. Then I saw 7 angels who stand before God, and 7 trumpets were given to them. And another angel came and stood at the altar with a golden censer, and he was given much incense to offer with the prayers of the saints on the golden altar before the throne." Do you know what that means? That means your prayers matter. That means your prayers are heard by God. He sees you and He hears you, and no prayer goes unheard by God. And it shows this. They're being represented here in this metaphorical language, maybe, of heaven. They're being represented. God saying, these matter to me. These are actual things that affect reality when you do pray. But going on into the 7 trumpets, he says in verse 6, "Now the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared to blow them. The first angel blew his trumpet, and there followed hail and fire mixed with blood. And these things were thrown upon the earth, and a third of the earth was burned up. A third of the trees and a third of the grass were also burned up." So some scholars believe this is every volcano just erupting. The earth is actually having this scientific, apocalypse, or God is just in and of Himself, delivering this divine wrath. But we've seen God deliver divine wrath, maybe in Exodus, where it kind of didn't make sense, and we've seen Him deliver divine wrath where it did make a scientific sense. Scientifically, you could explain it, but nevertheless, a third of the earth. And then he says in verse 8, "The second angel blew his trumpet, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood." A great mountain of fire falling from the sky. If you are a first century man, not knowing all of this astrology like we do, you might look at a meteor and say, that is a great mountain of burning fire being thrown into the sea. But I believe that he's talking about a meteor here, right? A giant chunk of rock that looks like a mountain that is on fire, that is being hurled into the ocean. I think that's a meteor, and I think that releases maybe some supernatural causes, like the sea becoming blood. A third of the living creatures in the sea died. A third of the ships were destroyed. The third angel blew his trumpet, and a great star fell from heaven. So we see another asteroid, meteor type thing, blazing like a torch, and it fell in the a third of the rivers and of the springs of the water. And the name of the star is wormwood, which means bitter. A third of the waters became wormwood, or bitter, and many died from the water because it had been made bitter. And then as we end this chapter, it says, "The fourth angel blew his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, and a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that the third of their light might be darkened, and a third of the day might be kept from shining, and likewise a third of the night." So we have attacks in the way people experience light, and that's going to bring on more judgment. And then the last verse, we see an eagle, and he says, "Woe, woe to those who dwell on the earth at the blasts of the other trumpets that the 3 angels are about to blow." So he says that, the 3 they're about to be blown are worse than the ones before. But I would encourage you, I know you would rather be reading, sweet baby Jesus in a manger, but I would encourage you that God is faithful to His followers. God is going to get us through it and get us out of it before this final judgment takes place on the earth. He is faithful to those, and what we should be doing by reading this and saying, wow, I don't want my worst enemy to undergo the judgments that are going to have to take place for sin to be justified, for the earth to be renewed. And I would let that encourage you to go and to take people out of the fire, as the scriptures say, to go and preach. That friend, that loved one, that person you know that doesn't know Jesus, I would make it my life's goal, my number one priority, to go meet them where they are, share the gospel with them, because we do not want anyone experiencing this judgment that must take place. But thank you for joining me in the Bible reading plan. I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.